time now for our rants and raves of the week, starting with Dan.
I have a rant. My rant is for Twitter, which is beginning to roll out a new way of presenting its feed that will be based on algorithms. And instead of you being able to set up your feed so that everything comes in reverse chronological order, a robot somewhere will decide, well, here's what you really want to look at.
Really?
Yes. Now, just like the Facebook news feed. Now, at the moment, it's an option. No doubt it will become the default at some point. Twitter is overrated. It's not doing particularly well financially, but at the same time, it's become a great tool for journalism, specifically because you can set it up to work the way you want it. And this is taking away power from the users. I'd like to see somebody acquire Twitter who's just going to appreciate it for what it is and just leave it alone.
I have a hard time using it unless I'm doing the notifications.
It's a pain. It's a pain.
Yeah. How on earth can you have, I believe it's over 300 million users, and you can't make money on it? How can that be?
They actually are making a lot of money. It's just not at the scale that Wall Street demands. Their expectations and their pricing of the stock was that they would grow into something more Facebook-sized.
Well, where's Bernie Sanders when you need him?
Where are the ads? I mean, where do you see the ads on Twitter? I mean,
Oh, there's sponsored content all over the thing. Yeah.
They're making multiple billions of dollars a year in revenue. They're actually generating revenue. It's just not enough of a user growth scale, and Wall Street hasn't liked that.
So, all right, Callie.
I have a rant rave. So the rant is that Al Jazeera America, as we've discussed here, is shutting down. They're now going to shut down all of their digital operations early, February 26th, later on this month, as opposed to April, though the remaining employees will get paid through April. But the rave about this is that the employees got together and put together a website and said, hey, we've done good work. Here's our good work. Check it out. And I hope that some of you hire us. The best of Al Jazeera America Digital. We've produced thousands of compelling stories with the company set to close. Check out some of our best work as we look to new opportunities. And I think that's an innovative way of doing it. It's a tough business. The website is bestofajam.com. And as I've said here, and many of you have agreed, they've particularly in some of their investigative work, it's fantastic.
Were those just the digital journalists, you know? Or
yes. So they were talking, this was set up by one of their own, and they just wanted to get their stories out. And you can go down and click on each of their stories and see what's happening. And I think it's a good thing. I hope that journalism absorbs them, because they did good work.
Yeah, I hope you're right. All right, Josh, sorry.
I have a rave for Gawker. There's always lots of things you can criticize Gawker about, but one thing I've always loved about them over the years is the sort of dogged investigative DNA in their journalistic report. For the last several years, they have been pursuing, including filing lawsuits against the State Department to try and get access to emails sent during the Clinton administration. Of course, this was even before Clinton and emails became a topic that everyone was talking about. And they have been putting out a series of really great stories about Philip Raines, the Hillary Clinton communications person and advisor, and his interactions with D.C. journalists. And it has been a really remarkable view into the way that D.C. journalism works. This week, they released emails sent by Mark Ambender, who was at that time the politics editor at The Atlantic. It was an email asking Philip Raines, can I get a copy of this speech that Hillary is going to be giving later today? Raines wrote back, yes, on 3 conditions. 1, you must, in your own words, describe the speech as muscular in your story. 2, you must note the seating chart at the speech to show that this was a show of dominance by Secretary Clinton. And 3, you must deny that I've just blackmailed you into doing this.
Oh my God.
Now, Mark Ambender was supposed to respond, no, these are terrible conditions, I will not do this. In fact, he responded with a 2-word email, got it, and then wrote a story that described the speech as muscular and noted the seating chart. As did at least 3 other D.C. journalists. We don't have the email trail showing that, but they all cited
Actually, now that you mentioned this, my nephew, Justin Fischel, who's a digital journalist for ABC News, was one of the first victims of this. It was really a nasty exchange, along the same order.
He's not known as a nice person.
But what happened was they released these emails. I mean, the exchange with Justin happened a while ago, and so they're just releasing all of these things. So in their aggregate, they're really bad.
Yeah, this was from 2009, this exchange. It was in the early days of the Obama administration. But it's just,
Yeah,
I think, a
it's
useful service that Gawker is providing, showing, how the sausage gets made. We can talk about the high ideals of journalism, but, and Mark Ambinder, to his credit, has sort of apologized and said, I wish I hadn't done that without admitting guilt.
Yeah,
But,
Ambinder, I
he
thought
was sort of on the edge there.
It's too bad he did it, but he did really take ownership for that and say, look, nobody at the Atlantic ever asked me to do that. So I thought that was fairly classy too.
All right, John, what do you got?
I have a rave for Jake Tapper of CNN, one of my favorite reporters, who gave a magazine interview in which he lit into news organizations that have lately begun trashing Donald Trump voters. Examples include the New York Daily News, which the day after the New Hampshire primary had a screaming headline about how New Hampshire voters who had voted for Donald Trump were all blind zombies, brain dead zombies. Thank you. The Huffington Post, which described them all as racist xenophobes. By all means, have at Donald Trump. He works hard to deserve it and richly deserves it. But leave his voters out of it. You don't know anything about these people. Maybe you saw somebody making a fool of themselves at a rally, but that doesn't extrapolate to all the voters. And when the news media does this, expresses, Tapper described it as elitism. I think you could think of harsher adjectives for it. It reinforces everyone's worst stereotypes about who we are and what we do.
All right, well, finally tonight, I have a rave for News Team 5, an investigative report that I saw last night on the MBTA, which was absolutely mind-numbing, shocking, jaw-dropping about how drivers, bus drivers, trolley drivers, everybody is paid to stay home. I didn't know they have this antiquated system where you pick your shifts the way they used to do in the old days of, the photographers. You pick your shift in a handwritten thing. That's what they have now. So thousands of these drivers are hand-picking these shifts, and sometimes the shifts are, they have a 10-hour shift, and then the next one starts 4 hours later, and sorry, you're going to have to stay home for 10 hours, and they're paying over $1 million a year to these drivers to stay home and not work their shifts. They had great video, too. It was great.
Wow.
Good work. All right, that is it for our show. Tell us what you think. Email us, tweet us, or leave a comment. We're always on at beatthepress.org.